Hey folks, welcome back to Bug Out Bag, little mini series we're doing here. This is episode number 2, and what's in the bag today? Flashlights. Now the idea of having a flashlight in a bug out bag is pretty much basic common sense. We probably have them in our glove box in our cars, in a drawer in the kitchen, and on the shelf beside our bed, in our buildings out back, our garage, our barns, our cabins, our boats, four-wheelers, etc. It goes on. Do you know where they are exactly? Do you know if the batteries are good in them? That's things that you kind of got to stay ahead of. There are options for rechargeable flashlights. However, if you're in the woods, it's going to have to be one of those hand crank dynamo or solar energy supplied flashlights. And I'm going to warn you on something here. Those kind of flashlights typically are low quality unless you spend a little bit of money on them. If you buy a $5 flashlight that has a solar panel on it, a dynamo, a radio, a clock, you're gonna get a $5 thing. That's all there is to it. If you buy a $100 one, you know, you're gonna get your money's worth. Now, of course, you can spend a lot of money on those up into the $250 range, but I mean, do you really need shortwave when you're out doing stuff? Do you really need that little waterproof compartment to store fish hooks or something silly? Maybe, maybe not. But a basic flashlight in itself that is dependable, it can be worth its weight in gold. Another type of flashlight that you may want to consider that is pretty handy is the headlamp. This headlamp is made by Pelican. It has an LED and an incandescent light. It has a LED, and then you can turn on the incandescent, and then it's just off, of course. Pretty good flashlight, fits on your head nicely. And when it's on your head, you can tip it down so you can see down below you, obviously, or you can tip it up, see where you're going on the trails at night. This little flashlight, I think it was $15, something like that. I'm not even sure exactly how much I paid for it. I've had it for probably 2 or 3 years. Original batteries. It's still incredibly bright. It's got a magnetic clip on it. Stick to the side of your car if you have a flat tire or whatever. Or you can stick on anything that's high carbon metal. Works great. 3 AAA batteries goes in this bad boy. If I can get it open. Yeah, these are the original whatever Nebo batteries. I have no idea. You know how when you buy a flashlight it always has cheap batteries. Those should be replaced with some high quality, such as Duracell or something. Downside with this little flashlight, it's not rechargeable. Sure, you could take the batteries out, replace them with actual rechargeable AAAs. That would work, but you know, the flashlight itself, you can't just plug it in and recharge it. So that's kind of a bummer. Upside is you can access the batteries. You can take these batteries out and you can connect them together with the wiring that's inside this LED, the conductors, and you can touch them together and actually start a fire. You can skin it down to where it's just one single strand, and you can actually use it to touch off lint or paper or real fine shavings of wood bark or something, and it would work. I haven't actually used this flashlight, but I've used other flashlights in the past I've taken apart just to see if they would work, and it does. Another thing to consider when buying a flashlight for your bag is when it's on, can you signal with it? Of course you can just do something like that, but this one has the push button. When you push it, it turns off. So you can actually signal SOS. Kind of a silly little thing, but who knows? Maybe it'll save your life. Something else to think about when buying flashlights for your bug out bag. You may want to pick up 2. What happens if one breaks? Then you don't have a flashlight. Now you may be tempted to say, no, I don't need a flashlight. I'll just have to worry about the acid leaking out of the battery stuff, which is a concern. You don't need a flashlight. You can have a lighter. Have a couple lighters in your bag, a couple matches. What happens if you drop the lighter? What happens if it gets wet? This you can dunk in water for a little while. And it's probably not completely waterproof, but it would work. You could dry it out and use it. A lighter, you're going to have to let it dry out. You could use this to find your lighter in your bag, which you should have anyway. Another possible use for a little flashlight such as this is it could actually be a bit of a self-defense weapon. It's probably not going to hold up to a cage match with Conor McGregor, but I don't know, if somebody hit me with this, kind of hammer punched me with this, I probably would take a step back and think about it. I don't think a grizzly bear is really going to care what kind of flashlight you got though. but you'd be able to see them coming. Do yourself a favor, don't buy those cheap dollar store flashlights that comes with the batteries that are off name. The flashlight itself is off name. Or if you do, buy a couple of them, because odds are they're not going to last very long. They're weak, they're cheap, that's why they're inexpensive. They're made out of cheap materials. Obviously they're from China, and they're not going to last worth a darn if they work at all. There's been a few times that I've been bit by those little dollar store flashlights. And I mean the cheap ones. They have some sometimes that are $10, $12, which are pretty good. You know, they work. And they're brightly colored, which might also help. You drop it in the weeds, it's easy to see when it's kind of twilight. The bright colors are kind of nice. You drop this in the weeds, it's going to be hard to find, depending on the time of day, time of year, etc. So that kind of concludes this episode here. Hope you enjoyed the background there. It's kind of a fun thing. Get yourself a good flashlight. Have extra batteries. Know where it's at in your bag if you need to grab it. Specific pockets, etc. And just be ready. Keep your powder dry. And have a good one.